The topic is male gametophyte of Pinus. We know that the first cell of male gametophyte is a microspore. These microspores, in case of Pinus, are winged and they are produced in large quantity in the microsporangium. They are disseminated by wind. So when we talk about the male gametophyte development, we will study under two subheadings. One is development of male gametophyte within microsporangium, and that is before it is pollinated. Number two is development of male gametophyte, which will be after pollination. So we start with the first one, development of male gametophyte within the microsporangium. That means when the microspores are still in the microsporangium, this development takes place. As we see over here, the microspore of Pinus has a thin circular intine and a thick exine which is expanded on two sides, forming the wings. So we have to remember that the Pinus microspore is winged, and this is a characteristic feature of it, and it helps in dissemination. In the next diagram we can see that the nucleus, which is haploid, undergoes division and it gives rise to two cells. These two cells are unequal in size. The one towards the upper side is lenticular, smaller in size, and this is known as first prothállial cell. The second cell is larger and is known as apical cell. This first prothállial cell remains as such, whereas the second prothállial apical cell undergoes further division, which we can see it over here. It divides to give rise to two cells. Again, these two cells are unequal in size. The smallest cell, which is towards the first prothállial cell, is lenticular, and now this is known as second prothállial cell. Below the second prothállial cell is the enthedial cell. So in this diagram, there are three cells: first prothállial cell, second prothállial cell, and the enthedial cell. Now, first prothállial cell and second prothállial cells, they remain as such, whereas the enthedial cell undergoes further division, giving rise to two cells, which we can see it over here. The one which is towards the second prothállial cell is known as generative cell, and the one which is below it is known as the tube cell. So in this diagram, we can see four cells: first prothállial cell, second prothállial cell, generative cell, and tube cell. This stage of microspore is known as four-cell stage, and it is at this four-cell stage that the microspore is shed from the microsporangium. That means the microsporangium splits longitudinally, and then the microspores are liberated out. With the help of wind, they are carried away to the megasporangium. So further development of microspore takes place in the megasporangium. So we are now going to the second part, which is known as development of male gametophyte after pollination, and is going to take place in the ovule. So the microspores after pollination comes and lands near the micropyral region of the ovule, and they get entangled in a mutualized substance secreted by the micropyral region, which gets dilated, and the microspores are sucked into the pollen chamber, where their further development takes place. So we'll see the further development. This is the stage where it comes and lands over here, and then first prothállial cell, second prothállial cell, they do not take part further in the development of male gametophyte, so they start degenerating. What happens to the generative cell? This undergoes division, giving rise to two cells, which are again unequal in size. The larger one, which is towards the second prothállial cell, is known as stalk cell, and the one which is towards the lower side is known as body cell. And the tube cell remain as such. So here what we have, two degenerating prothállial cells, a stalk cell, a body cell, and the tube cell. Meanwhile, what happens is the exine, which was continuous, breaks open, and the intine comes out in the form of a tube. So this structure is known as pollen tube. In the next, we can see that the content of the which was on the upper side moves towards the pollen tube. So what are the content? We have the stalk cell, we have the body cell and the tube cell. The two prothallial cells are regenerated. After some time, the body cell undergoes, the nucleus of the body cell undergoes division, giving rise to two nuclei. And these two nuclei is known as male nuclei. Okay? And the stalk cell and the tube cell membranes, they disintegrate. So in the diagram we see all the nuclei. So in this we have a stalk nucleus, we have two male nuclei and one tube nucleus. These two male nuclei goes and forms a male gametes which take part in the fertilization. So with the formation of male gametes, the male gametophyte